Divine warning revealed. Your ex's unthinkable act prophesied to manifest in 3 days. In the quaint English village of Hartswood, a storm was brewing. The air buzzed with whispers of divine prophecy. A strange warmth enveloped the church as the light of late afternoon filtered through stained glass like celestial tears. Just days prior, at a community prayer meeting, Reverend Thompson had declared a warning over the congregation. A grave foretelling over Sarah, a devoted single mother, and her ex, Tom. In 3 days, something unthinkable will be revealed. He had said, a tremor in his voice that sent shivers down Sarah's spine. In those moments, Sarah felt an electric pulse of spiritual energy coursing through her veins, as if heaven itself had reached down from the skies to stir her heart. Now, on the cusp of the prophecy's fulfillment, the weight of its omen pressed heavily on her. At night, she knelt at her bedside, her voice trembling as she poured out her heart to the Lord, seeking guidance in the silence of her room. "Help me, Lord, I need clarity," she whispered, tears staining the floorboards. Around her, the church community buzzed with speculation. Some villagers scoffed at the prophecy, shaking their heads in disbelieving disdain, while others bowed their heads, steadfast in faith. Sarah felt their gaze, the weight of their expectations dancing in the air like unseen chains. Yet among the whispers, a flicker of hope sparked within her heart. The same day she had been preparing with her small group to pray to St. Jude, the saint of lost causes. She walked into the church, the sun streaming in, illuminating the humble space with a golden glow. Sarah inhaled the scent of fresh flowers and lit candles, feeling warmth wrap around her. She held hands with her friends, an interlocking circle of faith, and prayed fervently as if her very soul depended on it. "Please guide me, St. Jude. I trust. I believe." The hymn rose like smoke, spiraling upward with unyielding hope. But as the nights wore on, the once comforting folds of faith turned into a cloak of anxiety. Sarah found herself drawn to dark thoughts, fears creeping into her mind like shadows. What did Tom do? How could it all end like this? She contemplated confronting him, her heart racing with an urgency she couldn't shake off. Then, dread gripped her as she received an anonymous message: "Time is up. Truth will shatter." The words pulsed with an ominous light, forcing her to question everything she knew about truth, faith, and God's plan for her life. Her heart raced, fear mingling in the depths of her spirit. "Sarah," the voices in her prayer group urged, "trust in the Lord's timing." Yet with each tick of the clock, she wrestled with doubt, seeking signs from above in every drop of rain and gust of wind. The tension unfurled like a taut string ready to snap, spiraling her into the depths of a divine rendezvous. She lay awake, the moonlight pouring through her window, illuminating her face, reflecting the battle within her soul. As the final hours approached, a shimmering light bathed the church. Sarah, guided by an unexplainable force, found herself within those sacred walls, enveloped in a tranquil glow. Just as her prayers reached a fever pitch, the silence broke, and she felt a rush of warmth, a voice whispering to her heart. It was coming. The truth. The revelation. "Will you stand firm?" The voice seemed to call. As the third day dawned, the village held its breath, anticipation simmering in the air. Sarah stood at the precipice of discovery, all eyes upon her, ready to witness a miraculous transformation. Would she have the strength to confront the truth? The question hung like a heavy veil, urging her onward into the divine mystery that awaited. As dawn broke over Hartswood, the church bells chimed. Each note echoed a heartbeat, resounding in the souls of its parishioners. Sarah stood before the altar, her chest rising and falling with the rhythm of her prayers. A soft light filtered through the stained glass, casting vibrant colors upon her, a reminder of the hope that flickered within her spirit even amid uncertainty. Around her, the congregation gathered, hushed whispers swelling into a collective murmur. Faces were drawn, eyes wide. Sarah felt the weight of their gazes, their hopes resting upon her shoulders. Would she be the vessel of revelation? The question looped through her mind like an incessant tide, drowning her in both fear and courage. The air thickened with expectancy. She clasped her hands tightly, a lifeline to the divine. Lord, grant me strength. She breathed, the words barely above a whisper yet filled with fervor. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept through the church, rustling papers and stirring the candles into a dance of flame. In that moment, clarity flooded her soul. A memory surged within her, the prayers shared with her friends, the comfort felt when they rallied together in faith. With renewed resolve, she stepped closer to the edge of the altar, feeling an unyielding pull within her heart. Sarah. Reverend Thompson's voice was steady yet gentle. The Lord has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. His words wrapped around her like a warm blanket, easing the knot forming in her stomach. In the quiet that followed, the congregation leaned in. Each heart stood at the threshold of the unknown, collectively holding their breath. Sarah closed her eyes, imagining them all before the Lord, vulnerable, yet fiercely united in faith. She opened her mouth to speak, a tremor of divine purpose sparking within. The truth that will shatter is not merely a revelation about Tom. She began, her voice rising, smooth yet trembling. It is about our hearts. God is calling us to look deeper into forgiveness, healing, and facing the shadows we often hide from. As she spoke, images danced before her. Moments of joy, pain, and regret flooded her mind. Every interaction with Tom, every choice made in anguish. She had poured herself into being a devoted mother. But what about her own heart? Would she be ready to face the truth not only for herself but for her son, for her future? Then, like a wave crashing upon the shore, realization struck her. The unthinkable act wasn't just about Tom's mistakes. It was an invitation for Sarah to rise above bitterness, to let go of the chains that had bound her to the past. God calls us to love even when it feels impossible, she declared, her voice gaining strength. A spark ignited in the eyes of the villagers. A murmur of assent spread like a ripple. They were listening. As Sarah opened her eyes, a light enveloped her, warm and inviting. She felt it igniting the hope within, an energy so divine that it almost felt tangible. I know the truth may be hard to bear, but God has a plan, she continued, her heart thumping wild in her chest, as if echoing the very heartbeat of heaven. Outside the church, dark clouds began to dissolve as rays of light began to pierce through. It was a reminder that after darkness always comes light. Just as suddenly, a single figure appeared at the door, hesitant yet resolute. Tom stood there, his expression a mosaic of fear and determination. The truth was about to come forth, and the tumult of emotions crackled in the air like electricity. The moment of divine intervention was at hand, and as the villagers turned toward him, uncertainty hung thick as fog. Would they find the strength to embrace the unfolding truth together? As their eyes locked, the question loomed large. How would this revelation transform them individually and collectively? The tension in the air was palpable, almost like a living entity. Sarah's heart raced as she locked eyes with Tom. Time seemed to stretch, each second dragging out like a thread pulled taut. In those fleeting moments, she felt the weight of every unspoken word, every unresolved pain, crashing against the shores of her heart. Sarah, Tom began, his voice barely audible, yet it sliced through the heavy silence, reverberating off the church walls. The congregation hung on his every syllable, breaths held tight. I didn't know how to tell you. His admission hung in the air like a confession. I was afraid of how you would react, afraid of losing you. A flicker of warmth ignited deep within Sarah, battling the waves of hurt she had long carried. Fear threatened to rise again, but amidst it, she felt something else, a glimmer of empathy. She recalled the nights spent in prayer, the moments when she felt the Lord leading her towards forgiveness and understanding. I know, she found her voice steady and calm, but the truth doesn't have to tear us apart. Can heal us if we let it. Around them, murmurs flowed through the congregation, a mixture of support and uncertainty. Sarah realized they were all feeling this. The rawness of the moment brought them together, uniting their hearts in a desire for truth and healing. Tom took a hesitant step forward. I made a terrible mistake, Sarah. I thought I was protecting you by lying. I didn't want you to suffer the way I was suffering. His eyes glistened, and with each word, a little light seeped into the shadows of his heartache. Then let us face it together. We can confront this darkness as a family. Her voice resonated with divine courage, wisdom filling the empty spaces between them. Everything can change, Tom. With God, nothing is impossible. The light streaming through the stained glass windows picked up intensity, bathing the church in a spectrum of colors, each hue a reminder of resilience, grace, and unwavering faith. It was as if heaven itself was bestowing its favor upon them in this crucial moment. Tom, still caught in his turmoil, looked to the crowd, where the villagers searched for reassurance. I hurt you, and I don't deserve your kindness. His voice cracked like thunder, but the fervor in his tone echoed with a longing for absolution. None of us do, Sarah replied softly, a maternal instinct bubbling within her. But Goddess love extends beyond our faults. We can start anew. We are not defined by our mistakes. As she spoke, the atmosphere shifted. Hands began to reach out, touching each other in solidarity. People were moved. Faces reflected hope mingled with uncertainty. But the shared emotion was unmistakably potent, a collective yearning for understanding, compassion, and healing. Reverend Thompson stepped forward, his presence a gentle anchor in the tide of emotions. Let us pray together, he urged, raising his hands toward the heavens. Let this moment be a turning point, a divine encounter. May we embrace healing and begin the journey of restoration. As heads bowed and hands entwined, Sarah felt the electric pulse of hope coursing through her. Would they summon the strength to rise from the ashes together? Was this the moment when God's plan truly began to unfold for all of them? With eyes uplifted, she whispered a heartfelt prayer in her spirit. Lord, guide our hearts, heal our wounds, make us instruments of your peace. And outside, the clearing sky illuminated the path ahead. The earlier darkness had retreated, exposing the beauty of possibility and unimagined futures as their murmured prayers floated toward the heavens. Another figure appeared at the church entrance. The atmosphere crackled again, a new layer of tension building. Who would step into their story next, and how would they further transform this moment of divine intervention? The figure at the entrance was cloaked in a deep, flowing robe, the fabric revealing a cascade of colors reminiscent of the stained glass window hues surrounding them. As the congregation turned to face this newcomer, a collective gasp echoed across the sanctuary. It was Eliza, a woman the village knew well, but one who had been away on her own journey for far too long. Her presence felt both distant and familiar, a whisper of unresolved stories flooding back into the room. Please, let me speak, she said, her voice firm yet trembling with emotion. As she made her way down the aisle, the atmosphere thickened with a blend of awe and uncertainty. Those once trapped in their own struggles turned to her, drawn like moths to a flickering light. God has shown me something, Eliza continued, pausing for a moment to gather her thoughts. I had a vision during my travels, a warning for you all. For this community. Sarah's heart quickened at her words. She felt something electric, a mix of excitement and fear, winding around her spirit. She glanced at Tom, who stood wide-eyed with wonder, but also concern. The weight of what had been just moments ago felt light compared to the possible tidal wave of revelation Eliza might unleash. 3 days from now, Eliza asserted, a significant event will happen. It will force you to confront the deepest truths hidden among your hearts. The very foundations of your relationships will shake, old wounds will be exposed. But through this tumult, healing and freedom will emerge. Gasps rippled through the crowd, and Sarah sensed a whisper in her spirit. She could feel the tension shift, like a tightening bowstring ready to release. Eliza's words felt like both prophecy and challenge, beckoning them to respond with faith. God showed me pain, but he also showed me joy, Eliza added, her eyes gleaming with fervor. Like seeds buried beneath the frost, new life will spring from what has long been dormant. But it requires your cooperation, your willingness to embrace the truth no matter how uncomfortable. The congregation remained silent, each member wrestling with their own thoughts. Sarah felt a rush of warmth toward Eliza, a kindred spirit who had returned with a message of purpose. "We have to trust, even when it's hard," she called out, her voice defiant yet gentle, echoing in the vast space of the church. "Let's not shy away from what's being revealed." Tom stepped closer, his brow furrowed, but a flicker of hope ignited in his chest. "What if we fail to face our truths?" he asked, voice cracking under the weight of vulnerability. "What if we end up hurt again?" "Eliza's message is clear," Sarah responded, her determination unwavering. "This is our chance to embrace what God can do through us. Instead of fearing the unknown, let us allow it to transform us." Reverend Thompson stepped forward again, brushing his hand through his graying beard. "Let us not ignore the warnings of the Lord. Each of you has a choice in this matter. God's door is wide open. Will we enter?" An unmistakable thrill passed through the assembly, echoing off the walls like a sweet hymn of faith. Reality was dawning upon them, and with every heartbeat, answers lay just beyond their reach, a holy invitation. As the weight of Eliza's prophecy settled within them, whispers of anxious anticipation filled the air. Could they truly embrace whatever was to come? How could they prepare their hearts for what lay ahead? And just then, as if on cue, a low rumble echoed outside, the distant sound of thunder rolling closer. It was a divine reminder that change was imminent, and with it, the potential for both chaos and restoration. Would they be ready to stand firm amidst the coming storms? Would they find the strength to face the unveiling of their pasts and the promise of a brighter future? The question echoed louder with every moment. What would the next 3 days reveal? The thunder rolled, a heavenly drum signaling the beginning of their collective revelation. Sarah felt her heart pound as the echoes reverberated, each beat swimming in the wondrous anticipation of what these next days might hold. Around her, faces flickered with emotions: fear, hope, disbelief. It was a moment crafted in the divine, a threshold stepping into what God had orchestrated. "Let us pray," Reverend Thompson urged, lifting his hands as if to embrace the crackling energy in the room. His voice, rich with conviction, wrapped around them all like a warm shawl. "We need to seek clarity. We need to invite wisdom into our hearts as we prepare ourselves." As they bowed their heads, Sarah could feel the electricity in the air settle into a hushed reverence. The world outside seemed to dim, the sanctuary becoming a cocoon of faith. Eliza stood, her presence still bright, lighting the way for their prayers. "God, we come before you," Reverend Thompson spoke gently, with hearts open, willing to receive what you have called us to uncover. "We are ready to confront our truths. Strengthen us. Guide us." Sarah whispered her own vision of the future. "Lord, whatever is to come, let it bring healing. Help us embrace it, even as it shakes us." At that moment, she could sense the other prayers intertwining, a symphony of voices reaching the heavens. Through vulnerability, they connected in a shared resolve. Moments passed, stretching like eternity, until a soft glow filled the sanctuary. It wasn't bright light, not blinding, but a gentle warmth that settled over them all. She opened her eyes to see Eliza, her face aglow, radiating peace amidst the brewing storm. "God's presence will go with you," Eliza spoke softly, "but you must choose to walk forward in faith. Each of you carries the weight of change. Embrace it." Tom's brow relaxed, and he squeezed Sarah's hand, a silent assurance passing between them. They all felt it, the urgency of the moment, the call to rise together. But with calmness came the question that lingered in the air, a weighty breath held too long. What truths would this impending storm strip away? What chaos would reveal their frail humanity? Sarah glanced at Eliza, wondering just what her journey had allowed her to glimpse in God's broader plan. Outside, the thunder began to stir again, a gentle percussion that told of a tempest preparing to break. It was a warning, and yet, within that warning, there lay the promise of something beautiful. Days passed swiftly, each one unraveling new threads of their lives. Sarah found herself in quiet corners of the village, seeking out the elderly who held wisdom of the past. Each story she heard, every shared tear, reminded her of the community's fabric. These were not merely strands but lifelines, intertwining their stories in a tapestry only God could see. And as they drew closer to the last day, the questions loomed larger. What if they discovered things that could not be undone? What if love was lost forever? The fear clawed at her heart, yet hope lingered on its tail. Standing before her mirror, Sarah spoke softly to her reflection. Whatever comes, I am here to face it. The resolve settled deeper, like roots digging into fertile soil. But just as she took a deep breath in surrender to God's plan, she received a message that sent tremors through her very being. A note from Tom. His handwriting shaky. Something terrible was brewing at the heart of their village. Choices had been made, and they had set in motion a course she never anticipated. What weighty revelation lay ahead, waiting to unfold? Would they be strong enough to withstand what was coming, or would their very foundations shatter in the light of truth? The answers lingered just beyond the horizon, as the storm gathered above. The note trembled in Sarah's hand, and her heart raced as she read Tom's warning again. Something terrible is brewing. The words echoed like a distant thunderclap, a prelude to an impending storm that had crept into every corner of her mind. She had known him long enough to recognize when he was scared, and this time, he was terrified. Settling onto the edge of her bed, she clutched the note tightly, her thoughts swirling like autumn leaves caught in a gust of wind. The community around her had always felt like a protective blanket, a tight-knit family bound by shared faith and history. But now, it felt fragile, delicately balanced, as if one wrong move could unravel everything. God, guide me, she whispered, her voice barely escaping her lips. What is it that Tom is afraid of? What storm is upon us? A sense of urgency propelled her to the sanctuary. The worship hall stood empty, but the spirit lingered like a warm breeze. With each step inside, Sarah felt the pull of Eliza's light guiding her toward the altar. She remembered Eliza's words just days ago. You must choose to walk forward in faith. Kneeling at the altar, Sarah closed her eyes and let the quiet surround her. She could sense the divine presence, a comforting embrace amidst her rising fears. Lord, help me understand, she prayed. And then, in stillness, she felt the flicker of understanding. Images flashed through her mind. A village torn apart by secrets, a friend betrayed by another, and love twisted into grief. What were the choices that Tom spoke of? What could have happened to cast such a dark shadow? Moments stretched and flowed as she remained there, openness at the altar. In the depths of her heart, uncertainty battled with hope. Would the truths that were coming reveal a deeper connection among them? Would they somehow lead to a transformation that could heal, rather than harm? Breaking the silence, the church door creaked open. Sarah turned to see Tom step inside, his face drawn and serious. The moment their eyes met, unspoken words passed between them, filling the space with a burden they both sensed. He took a deep breath, the air heavy with desperation. Sarah, he began, his voice thick with emotion. I don't know how to say this, but we have to talk about what's happening. It's worse than I thought. Tell me, Sarah urged, rising from her spot and stepping closer. We need to face this. We can't let fear drive us apart. Tom hesitated, swallowing hard. It's about the council, and how they handled the rumor of Eliza's vision. They're making choices that could destroy us all. The gravity of his words crashed around her. Sarah felt her heart pounding, each thump echoing a prayer for wisdom as she fully realized the implications. Trust was being tested, not just among neighbors but within the fabric of their very faith. Choices would not only birth revelations but lessons, 2 lessons of unity and discord, of light in darkness. Sarah, if we don't act now, if we don't uncover the truth together, his voice faltered, bracing against the weight of uncertainty, could tear us apart. Glimmers of resolution began to spark within her spirit. God will guide us, Tom. We must hold fast to one another, even as the storm rages. We can't let fear decide our fate. As their eyes locked, she sensed something deeper forming, a shared commitment to uncover the truth, no matter how painful. They were all on borrowed time, and the revelations that lay ahead threatened to reveal the very core of their faith. With the storm looming ever closer, would they find strength in their brotherhood? Could love triumph even against the cold chill of betrayal? Their faith would need to be a beacon. They had to believe it would illuminate the dark paths ahead. As they stepped away from the altar, determination pulsed in their veins, ready to dive into the tangled web of village gossip and secrets. What awaited them beyond the horizon of uncertainty? Would they emerge intact or forever altered, revealing a depth of love that could withstand the fiercest tempests? The weight of impending danger hung thick in the air as Sarah and Tom stepped into the village. The streets, usually vibrant and filled with laughter, now felt eerily silent, as if the very earth held its breath in anticipation of what was to come. Each footfall echoed like the ticking of a clock, a reminder that time was running out. Where do we start? Tom's voice broke the heavy silence, but it held a resolve that steadied Sarah's trembling heart. "Let us go to the council first," she said, her mind racing. "They must know more about Eliza's vision and the rumors swirling around. If we can understand their decisions, we may find a way to intervene." Tom nodded, determination flooding his features. As they approached the town hall, the building loomed before them like a fortress. The sun was beginning to dip below the horizon, casting shadows that seemed to dance menacingly at their feet. The doors creaked open as they entered, revealing a room filled with familiar faces that once brought comfort, now contorted by worry and suspicion. Sarah, Tom. It was Martha, a council elder, whose worry lines deepened as she saw their expressions. "Is everything all right?" "No, not really," Sarah admitted, her voice ringing clear through the heavy air. "We need to talk about Eliza's vision and what's happening in our community." Tom received a note warning us. Martha's eyes widened, a flicker of fear crossing her face. "You shouldn't have come here. The council, they're making choices that are going to change everything." "Why do you think we've been so quiet?" "'Cause you're afraid?" Tom interjected, his voice rising with a blend of urgency and frustration. "We have to stand together. Dividing us will only make things worse." Martha shifted uncomfortably, glancing towards the other council members who had gathered around them, whispering in hushed tones. "Not everyone agrees with what's happening. Some believe it's best to keep quiet to protect us from whatever darkness is approaching." "Protect?" Sarah's heart ached at the thought. "How can you protect us by hiding the truth? Are we not called to walk in the light?" Just then, Daniel, another council member, stepped forward, his expression solemn. "Eliza's vision was unsettling. It spun a tale of betrayal and loss. But it's meant to be interpreted, not feared. We think the council's closed door is for your own good." "Good?" Tom echoed incredulously. "What good comes from silence? Secrets rot the heart from the inside. Eliza's words were meant to bring us together. We must uncover the truth." The room felt charged with tension. Faces turned toward one another, each person grappling with either their allegiance to the council's choice or their desire for transparency. Sarah could see the spirit of discord creeping in, ready to tear their community apart. She took a deep breath, her heart steady and firm. What if Eliza believed the greatest enemy is not the outside forces closing in, but rather our fear of each other? We have to trust in God's plan, whatever it may be. We can't let fear shape our response. The silence that followed was thick. As the sun fully set and darkness enveloped the world outside, a flicker of hope ignited inside Sarah's heart. "We need to gather everyone," she continued, her voice impassioned. "Let us share Eliza's vision. Let us talk. In the sharing, we can find strength. If we all stand united, we can face whatever storm is coming." As she spoke, a ripple of agreement began to spread among the council members. Could it be? Could they really find their courage and community amidst this looming threat? Feeling the pulse of their hope, Tom grasped Sarah's hand. "Are you with us?" he called, looking at the council and the townsfolk. "Do we stand for love, faith, and truth?" One by one, heads began to nod. The air shifted, charged with a newfound light, a reminder of what they could accomplish together. But just as they began to turn their attention toward the plans for the gathering, a deafening clap of thunder echoed outside, shaking the windows. The storm had finally arrived. "Something is coming," Tom whispered, something we may not be prepared for. Sarah felt a chill race up her spine. Questions buzzed in her mind. What did the storm mean? Were they truly ready to face whatever lay ahead? As the first drops of rain began to fall outside, a sense of divine mystery hung heavily in the air. What was God preparing to reveal in the midst of their gathering storm? The storm raged outside, its ferocity a mirror to the whirlpool of emotions inside the town hall. Flashes of lightning illuminated the faces of those gathered, casting shadows that played on the walls. It was as if the very heavens were trying to communicate, to warn them of what was yet to unfold. Sarah took a moment to breathe deeply, grounding herself in faith, praying for clarity amidst the chaos. "Everyone," she called out, her voice stronger than she felt. "We cannot let fear decide our fate. Not now, not ever. We are stronger when we stand together." Some murmured agreements, while others still looked hesitant, caught in the crossfire of doubt and bargaining with their anxieties. Sarah's heart ached for them. She knew all too well how easy it was to choose silence over the burden of truth. Yet, she also sensed that the stirrings of hope were starting to bloom in their hearts, like the first flowers of spring after a long winter. "We can't let these dark clouds drown out our purpose," she exclaimed. Eliza's vision was a call to action, not a premonition of our defeat. Tom's grip tightened around her hand, nurturing that flicker of courage, igniting warmth within her. Martha stepped forward, her brow furrowed, and yet her eyes shimmered with a glint of something Sarah recognized: hope. "Perhaps what we need is a sign," she said hesitantly, but the depth of her words resonated through the crowd. "Something to rally around, something that would remind us why we are here." With that spark igniting in the council, Sarah turned to Daniel. "What of Eliza's exact words? Maybe we can find light within them. Every vision given comes with a purpose, a reminder that faith endures even in the darkest places." Daniel nodded, pulling out a weathered scroll from his satchel. As he unfolded it, the air thickened with anticipation, and even the storm outside seemed to quiet for a moment. He read aloud the words that had stirred the village's fears. "In a time when shadows gather and hearts grow faint, when the truth becomes a whisper and chaos reigns, a choice will emerge: will you seek the light or be lost to the night?" With each verse, Sarah felt a wave washing over her. Her conviction surged, and the storm outside transformed from a symbol of despair to a backdrop for divine revelation. "Seek the light," she whispered under her breath, allowing the words to settle in her spirit. Necessary choices were upon them. "This is our moment," Sarah declared to everyone present. "We have to shine our light, not bury it. Let each of us embrace the truth within us and stand bravely. We shall share Eliza's vision, and let that light guide us through the storm." An impassioned murmur swept through the hall, voices rising, filling the air like a chorus of faith, eager and bright. "Yes, we can. We shall not hide." Their unity began to blaze like a beacon in the night. That as the energy in the room peaked, a deafening boom shook the building. Instinctively, they all chose to stay rooted in place, reminded of the power of their collective heart. They each cast glances toward the heavy doors, feeling a moment of unsettling trepidation. Just then, a figure appeared, drenched and heaving. It was old Jonah, the village watchman, eyes wide with something frantic yet fervent. "The storm is a warning," he gasped, breathless. "You must see what approaches carries more than just wind and rain." The room fell silent, eyes fixed on Jonah. His voice resonated, the very air around them thrumming with tension. "What's coming is a test, not just for us, but for all. The strength of our faith will be revealed soon." An urgent energy surged through Sarah. What new challenge awaited them? As she struggled to find her voice, a light flickered in her heart, urging her forward with new determination. "Whatever comes, we face it together," she cried. But as the thunder rolled again, shaking the town hall, a yet unanswered question lingered in the air, heavy and pulsing with expectation. What would this test reveal? Would faith triumph, or would the gathering storm overshadow their hearts? And in that moment of uncertainty, A single thought emerged: could they truly stand strong against the winds of turmoil? The weight of Jonah's words hung in the air, as palpable as the pending storm outside. The flickering candles inside the town hall seemed to mirror the uncertainty etched on everyone's faces. A resolve began to build among them, yet fear lurked in the corners of their minds like shadows cast by the flickering flame. Sarah glanced around at her neighbors, their expressions flipping between resolve and terror. Each heartbeat echoed in her chest, a reminder of the choice before them. "What if," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "This test is not meant to tear us apart, but to reveal the strength we've always had." Revealing strength or shattering hope? Tom whispered back, worry etched on his brow. His grip on her hand tightened, grounding her. "Are we truly ready for what's coming? Ready or not, we must embrace it. This storm might lead us to something greater," she responded, searching his eyes for understanding. Martha took a bold step forward. "We have to claim our faith. We've been given the chance to show the world who we are. If darkness is a prelude to light, then let us stand tall and trust." Her voice, once timid, now rang with an unwavering determination. A little spark ignited further murmurings of encouragement. More faces turned toward her, searching for a leader, someone to help steer their ship through this turbulent sea. The energy in the room transformed, igniting like a flame catching dry kindling. Daniel, feeling inspired, added, "Together, we've weathered storms before. Remember the blizzard last winter? We joined forces, shared our resources, and came out stronger." He gestured with fervor. "This is no different. This storm is not just outside. It's within all of us, our doubts and fears. But we can drive those out with faith and unity." With each word, the atmosphere began to shift. A reviving warmth seemed to swell among them, cutting through the chill of apprehension. Gradually, the whispers of agreement turned into raised voices, dedicated and passionate. "We will not be lost to the storm. We will seek the light." Jonah, still standing by the door, nodded solemnly, his expression softening. "Let it be known, when we stand as one, our faith becomes impenetrable. And it is in testing that we find refinement, like gold, perfected in fire." An unmistakable spark flickered in Sarah's heart. Hope mingled with courage, creating clarity. If the storm was a test, she understood that it was a chance to showcase unwavering faith among swirling tempests. "We must commune with each other and with God. Now is the time to rally, to pray. Let us open our hearts and seek strength through the divine." As they began to chant prayers, synchronized like a collective heartbeat, sudden serenity rolled over them. The storm outside roared still, but inside, they created a sanctum of belief. Each prayer felt like a hammer striking against the anvil of despair, shaping their spirits into unbreakable vessels of hope. Suddenly, through the intensity of their gathering prayers, a light flickered above them, brighter than the dusty bulbs that hung from the ceiling. The air crackled with palpable energy. "Sarah, look!" Tom exclaimed, eyes bright and wide. "The light!" They all turned, staring in awe. It pulsed gently, like a heartbeat, illuminating the dark corners of the hall. Just as quickly as it appeared, the light dimmed back, but the essence remained, resonating within. It was a divine wink, a reassurance that they were not alone. What came next was uncertain, but their hearts were aflame with newfound purpose. This was the moment they would choose, the moment they would cast away fear. Yet, as they gathered in unified prayer, an enigmatic whisper floated through the air, almost lost in the solemnity. What if the test requires more than unity? What if faith must face betrayal? Could the bonds they forged withstand a hidden truth waiting to emerge? Would they still choose the light if shadows danced among them? They stood poised on the threshold, faith ignited, and hearts aligned, but an unsettling thought wafted in: what if the greatest trials lay within their very own circle? As dawn broke over Hartswood, the weight of the storm lingered lightly in the air, yet a sense of divine purpose hung heavily. Sarah stood at the altar, her heart entwined with her community, ready to embrace whatever revelation awaited them. The night of trembling shadows and whispering winds felt distant now, replaced by a resolute drive for healing and truth. Eliza's prophetic vision echoed within her, urging them to confront their fears, not shirk from them. "We can face our truths," Sarah cried. "We cannot allow fear to decide our fate." Her words soared, moving through the sacred space like the wind, igniting hearts in fervent agreement. One by one, the villagers stepped closer, fueled by a collective determination. Tom, beside her, looked deeply into her eyes, the warmth of unity igniting courage in his spirit. "Let us shine our light, not hide it," he said, his voice steady, filled with conviction. Martha, emboldened by the enthusiasm, called out, "Let us gather together and share. Let us reveal Eliza's vision in the town square." Daniel chimed in, raising his arms excitedly. "We can demonstrate our strength." As Sarah stepped forward, she could feel anticipation pulse in the air, thrumming through the hearts of her neighbors. "We will share the truth. For every shadow, let there be light." Her voice rang clearly, a clarion call to arms against the impending darkness. With a resonant thrum of agreement, their steps echoed together as they moved toward the square, hearts aligned in faith. The town felt alive again, the thick clouds above the rooftops beginning to clear, hinting at brighter skies ahead. Once together in the center of Hartswood, they gathered in a circle, hands clasped tightly. The atmosphere thickened with shared belief and communal strength. Sarah lifted her head, feeling the warmth of God's presence like sunbeams breaking through the clouds, and began to speak. "Eliza saw our struggles, and she spoke of a test. But let us not simply face it, let us overcome it. Together." A ripple of emotion spread as villagers nodded, fiery eyes locked onto her. Then, as if the heavens themselves conspired to interject, rolling thunder echoed through the village. The onlookers gasped, but Sarah pressed on, the storm no longer a frightful omen, but a pact with destiny. This storm heralds a change. Yes, a change we will choose to embrace. As she spoke, a figure emerged from the crowd. Eliza, her presence radiant as ever. "Together, we will unveil the truth, even if it scares us. Only then can we find our true selves." Her words resonated deep within the collective soul of the villagers. A newfound energy unfurled, lifting hearts and spirits alike. Each villager was reminded of their passion and resilience, unified in pursuit of the light that God had promised. "Let us pray and ask God for revelation and the strength to confront whatever lies ahead," Reverend Thompson called out. Heads bowed, hearts opened wide, and as the congregation prayed, the sound of thunder outside roared in agreement. In that moment of unity, a vivid light shone through the clouds, their prayer rising, entwined with the storm, creating a solid bridge between heaven's grace and their earthly struggles. They each felt it, an unseen force guiding their spirits like a compass toward truth. As their collective chant rose up, the very essence of hope pulsed through them, mingling with the air and drawing the promise closer. Crisis transformed into connection. Fear shifted into faith. Yet amidst this breakthrough, something shifted. Shadows stirred beneath the surface as the storm rumbled outside, murmuring of untold secrets lurking just beyond the warmth of their newfound light. With the prayer winds still swirling around them, Sarah paused, her heart racing. What if we confront the truth, only to find betrayal among us? The unsettling question hung in the air, a weighty reminder that fruitless darkness had a way of creeping uninvited into divine light. But before anyone could respond, a spark of revelation burst forth. The dynamics within the circle began to shift, eyes darting to one another, whispers breaking into fragments charged with uncertainty. "What if the storm reveals our weaknesses?" someone murmured. Sarah breathed deeply, the tension heavy in the air. "Could also reveal our strength. Who are we willing to become in the eye of the storm? We are searching for healing, for unity. We must trust one another fiercely." Faces lined with anxiety softened as murmurs of agreement began to swirl like leaves caught in a breeze. Eliza stepped forward, her voice smooth yet compelling. "A true community flourishes through trials. We must be brave enough to face what comes. After all, God has called us here for a purpose. Taking her place among the villagers, she continued, "Let the truth become our strength. Share your faith. Share your stories. What binds us together is much greater than any shadow that dares to threaten us." Invigorated by her words, Sarah could feel hope rising anew, igniting the spark of courage in the hearts of all present. As they began to speak, sharing their truths, each revelation brought them closer. They stripped away layers of fear and shame, shrugging off doubt, bearing their souls in faith. The light of unity wrapped around their tight-knit circle, pulsating like a heart awakening. Gradually, the storm outside morphed from a fierce threat into a cleansing presence, washing the village with grace. With every confession offered, the sky brightened until the storm clouds broke apart, drenching the village square with warm sunlight. Saturated with sheer glory, they stood as a testament of faith fulfilled. A flood of peace enveloped them. They became a tapestry woven together by divine hands, a community shining bright with love and forgiveness. At that moment, as a radiant sun rose over their village, they understood. Standing united against the storm had unveiled something beautiful, not just healing, but rebirth. In that sacred moment, Sarah knew they were forever changed as the echoes of the storm faded. A genuine tranquility wrapped around them. Each scar, every trial, had deepened the roots of their connection, and they emerged not only intact but transformed by divine grace. The cycle of pain and betrayal had birthed redemption, a community reborn into the light of love. Now, their collective story became the lifeline, a living testimony of faith, sewn with threads of truth and grace. Hartswood would thrive again. Let this be a reminder, Sarah thought, that even amid a storm, light still claims its space, revealing beauty in brokenness. As the final rays of sunlight shone through the remnants of the storm, the villagers took a collective step forward towards healing, towards love, and towards a greater purposeful future. The warmth enveloped them, their hearts now aligned in harmony, a heavenly promise unfolding, igniting hope for their every tomorrow. Hartswood would rise, reborn, forever indebted to the true power that lies within them. Their faith ignited anew. Now it's your turn to join this incredible movement of faith and transformation. Subscribe immediately to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories of belief and revelation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm with your support. Comment below with your reactions and testimonies about this powerful ending. We want to hear from you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this divine manifestation. Don't wait even one more second to share the hope and strength that comes from faith. Only true servants of God understand the importance of lifting each other up through these actions. Together, we can keep the flame of faith burning bright.